All right. So this is going to be the first episode of Behind the Stream. So this opener may be a little bit different moving forward, but we're going to be doing a little bit of trial and error here. For the first episode of this podcast, I was going to have my buddy here, Thunderceptor11, who is a good friend of mine, been streaming for about 8 years, right? 8, 10, 10, 10. There we
10.
go. I was one of the two.
You were
Gotcha.
close.
And Twitch partner, world's first Jedi Fallen Order no-hit run. Also a previous podcast host of Chatting Up a Storm, which I had the privilege of being a part of, which is pretty amazing. Banging Lego builder, like you would never believe, okay? Those are some pretty good times, cozy streams I've been a part of, all while working his day job and having his personal life and just kind of making all of this happen. So welcome, Thundy, to episode 1 of the podcast.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for saying yes. My goodness.
Oh, I'll always say yes to you.
My man. Always get a friend like Thundy. So let's go back to like the very beginning of all of the content stuff with you, okay? Sure. What kind of got you into like gaming in the first place? Let's start with that.
Gaming in the first place. We have to go a little far back. I think it's probably my father. You know, back in the day, on his old PC, he'd play Flight Simulator. I think it was 96, something like that. And then a game called Lands of Lore 3. And of course, we had an NES growing up, and I had access to an Atari. But I think I had the most amount of fun just kneeling on the floor because there was no extra chair and watching my dad play games and me wanting to play, but me just watching him play. And I think I got into it from there. And I think it was spending time with my father for the most part that got me into it. And then I didn't get heavily addicted, so to speak, into gaming until probably just before I started streaming. So it had been quite a long time. So maybe about 11 years ago, no pun intended, is when I really started heavily gaming.
Under that umbrella, since you kind of like started gaming and then streaming like back to back, like take me back like 10 years ago. Okay. So I had done a little bit of looking into some of your stuff before we got into this. Yep. And 10 years ago, you uploaded a YouTube video called No Bones of you playing, was it Star Wars, the older something?
Star Wars, the Old Republic. Yeah, my mom.
There it is. And everyone kind of was in a circle. You gave everyone like some kind of countdown and then a song played and then everyone just danced. And that was the entire video. Run me through that where you're like, oh my God, I need to put this on YouTube. I need to start. Like that was the beginning of your YouTube journey. So run me through that.
So that's where I started heavily gaming was because of Star Wars: The Old Republic. And that's actually Star Trek Online that I got into beforehand. And I played that Max character at the time. I don't know what level it was on. But then, I knew I was a big Star Wars fan, in case you couldn't tell behind me. And, nobody would know. And I ran one of the largest guilds on the Shadowlands server for Star Wars: The Old Republic. It was about 500-600 people. I was the ops leader. So I wanted to start this channel as kind of like a home for us. The name of the guild was Saga. And I originally wanted to create this channel so that we can record our raids and so we can go back and get better. That was the whole premise about it. And then I started uploading quick, funny videos, and we were on the guild ship, put on the music, and then everybody just started dancing. That was really the whole point of it. And I just kind of threw it up there. I had no goal outside of just being a good guild leader and having content to show them and reference going forward. There's other stuff on there doing Datacron runs. So yeah.
It was so funny to watch. I was watching it and I'm like, at what point did it hit you where you're like, oh my God, I have a great idea, guys. Are you down? There was like almost like 10 of you and you got everyone on board to do this one bit. Yep. And I was like very impressed with that bit. Actually, it was hilarious. This kind of like looking back at it like 10 years ago, I'm just and knowing who you are now, I was just like, that's still on brand for that guy, which is kind of funny.
I appreciate it.
So from that point on, that's when you started streaming, right?
Kind of. I think I took a little bit of a break, and then this is when I had just moved to Virginia, I want to say. So I had just moved from Kentucky to Virginia, and I was alone. I didn't know anybody. It was just work. And at my job, one of my best buddies, Just Kidding, I don't know if you remember Just Kidding, but it was one of my oldest friends, and we were work IRL buddies, and he took me to a convention called MagFest, the Music and Gaming Festival in Maryland. And I've been to that convention about, 7, 8 times. That was my first introduction to a convention that involved gaming. And that's the first time I ever heard the word Twitch. So because my friends introduced me to it, I realized that I have a PlayStation 4, and I went to my local GameStop, got one of their cheap cameras, and I said, I'm just going to try, just turn this on. I don't know what it is, but like that typical bar in the back, chat was embedded into it, a typical straight from PlayStation to YouTube or PlayStation to Twitch. I didn't even think I directly had gone to Twitch yet. And I just kind of flipped the switch.
Okay. So I did see that, and I
Yeah.
did see that you started with your PlayStation stuff.
Yeah.
And my question, even before we get into that, is like, what made you want to stream other than just like, oh yeah, someone's doing it. Like, why not me? Like, what really made you want to just like sit down, lock in, learn all this stuff, and then kind of like just do the thing?
I actually didn't find my love for it until I flipped the switch. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the premise behind it. I just like talking to people. I wanted to meet new people. So I figured, let me just turn it on. I had no lofty goals. I was never on Twitch, never watched any other streamers beforehand. I had no references. I had no idea about the unwritten rules, like don't call out your lurkers. I got in trouble for that one. And yeah, I just turned it on. And then from there, as I started to meet new people and start to understand what the platform was about at the time, this was in early 2016, February 2016 ish. Then I started to understand the platform, what was going on, and that's where I fell in love with it.
And after your Star Wars stuff, you decided to go and start playing hockey games. How did you come up with your ideas to be like, all right, cool, I'm doing Star Wars. Now I'm going to pivot over to hockey, which then you also started playing like the Division, and then you played Fallout, and you had your little cool little Fallout t-shirt on. Like, how were you
Yeah.
coming up with like your next game you were going to play after you stopped doing the Star Wars stuff?
I don't know. It was a Star Wars game for the first one I think we ever streamed on PlayStation 4. I don't remember which one it was.
No,
Oh, it was
you were like
Battlefront.
uploading like videos for
Oh, okay.
that,
So,
for that
you mean
stuff.
Star Wars: The
And then
Republic?
you started like, yeah, and
We
then you
did
started doing the
Battlefront.
PlayStation streams.
Right. Okay. See, you're jogging my memory. It's been
Oh, this
so
is
long.
fresh for me. I was looking it all up recently, so
You did your homework. I appreciate that. So
yeah.
I think I'm a huge hockey fan, like diehard hockey fan. And I love Fallout. So it was just something I was familiar with, something that I could talk about. I've always been good at talking to myself. So and I think that's really important as a streamer to be able to talk to yourself, especially when there's nobody around. I could do that naturally already. So I figured just pairing it with a game that I enjoyed, then I could, I don't know, maybe have more enjoyable broadcast for when people stopped in.
Roughly, the timeline can be a little rough here, but roughly a year later, you decided to kind of pull the trigger, and then you got a webcam. You did a whole like overhaul of the stream, and you did a little, video. You're like, hey, this is the content upgrade, I think you titled it. What made you want to pull the trigger on upgrading the stream from the PlayStation to an actual like traditional style of stream you would see nowadays?
So I'll tell you why. It's actually it's a bit of a moving story, so to speak. That
All
same
right, lay it on
friend,
me.
just kidding. I had he was a very close friend. He's still a very close friend to this day. And the way I remember it, because it's been a while, I'll be forever in his debt because of this. He kind of invested in the stream, and he said, "Bundy, I like what you're doing. I can see you going far with this. I know financially at the time you can't put yourself a gaming PC." And he says, "Let's just go to Micro Center. Let's plan some stuff out. This way we can get you on the platform." Because even I saw some positive things coming out of PlayStation. I was a featured streamer for a little while. We were doing 80 concurrent for a little bit, doing Fallout 4
No
custom builds,
kidding.
and PlayStation had featured my stream for a little while. And I didn't know what that meant, but chat was busy. And I'd never experienced this before. I was overwhelmed, excited. I was taking pictures. Wow, we just had 100 followers. It's amazing. It was a big deal at the time. But he came to me and says, "Let's go to Micro Center." The best store to get stuff. I love Micro Center.
It is pretty
And
good.
it's the best. So we're going around the aisle. He's like, "Just look, take this off the shelf, take that off the shelf, just to kind of show you stuff." And then got the memory. We got all the different pieces of the PC. He's like, "All right, come to the front. You get the memory. I got everything else." I'm like, "Excuse me?" He says, "Yeah, I want to invest in your stream. I like what you're doing. You're natural at this. I want to invest in the future of your stream." And he bought and built a brand new PC for me and got it all set up. And that is how I was able to get onto Twitch. If it wasn't for him, we might not have gotten on Twitch for years, if ever. I might have at least via a PC. is what I mean. And we might have been on PlayStation to this day for all I know. Probably not, but it would have taken a lot longer. So he believed in me early on, and he's been a long time moderator. We still see each other occasionally. He's one of my best buds up until today. If it wasn't for him, it would have been totally different. So I had
Huh.
a lot of help.
I don't think I ever knew that. That's actually
Yep.
insane. What a start. That is not a traditional way people kind of get into, content creation. Like when I first started streaming, I borrowed my buddy's Xbox Connect so I could try to get some kind of videos going off of streaming from the Xbox because I found out you couldn't plug a webcam into the Xbox that wasn't an Xbox-esque
Yep.
webcam, and I couldn't afford one. So I was kind of making that work with like my phone was the chat, and then I was kind of like doing off like it was way easier to stream on PlayStation for some reason
Oh,
than it
sure.
was for
It was built
Xbox.
right into it. Yep.
Yeah, so insane stuff. So like, people kind of like slowly have that progression, and having someone believe in you to that degree is kind of special and kind of amazing actually. So that's
It
really
was. And
cool.
we ended up moving in together. He was one of my best friends, and we rented a house together for about 3 years. And he would moderate the stream from upstairs in his own little studio, and then he started streaming regularly. And the funny thing was is that he almost became the fastest person to ever to finish Undertale. He was a speedrunner. He became number 2 in the world.
Oh,
It was 3
no kidding.
seconds off the lead, and he was going to be on the couch at GDQ, and he
Wow.
was that good. He was that good. So
How
we
did you
had him
meet that guy?
at work. It was at work. I had just moved to Virginia, and the company I got to, I was the project coordinator for our team. And then, I was having a hard time meeting people. You're also in a new environment. You're nervous. We're all gamers. So, at the time, I'm more extroverted now than I was before. But at heart, everybody watching this or listening, we're probably introverts for the most part. I'm not so much anymore, but we can all relate to that in one way or another. And we just kind of connected at work. And that's when we went to MagFest and had a great time. And then he ended up coming out to TwitchCon with me in 2016. We just kind of spontaneously bought the tickets, went out there, and it was one of the best trips I've ever taken. So I owe a lot to him. No doubt about it.
Wow, that is insane. Again, very unconventional. That is
Yeah.
insane. I love that. Because you've been streaming for like so long, you've been doing the PlayStation stuff, and then you got your regular streams going. Now you're kind of like just you're getting in the swing of things, basically. How do you find yourself kind of like balancing regular life and streaming? Because you still got to go to work, you still
Yep.
have friends, family, relationships, and then you're still trying to pull this off. Like, how did you find your version of balance with all that?
Not easily, because I have a very addictive personality. And when I found something that I love to do, I hyper focus on it. So there were times, and I work very hard. I take my work very seriously. But earlier on in my career, there were times where I showed up late to work because I decided I'm going to stream for 12 hours, and I would oversleep. And my boss was not happy about it for obvious reasons. And I got called
I
out
can only
actually
imagine.
in front of dozens and dozens of people saying, well, if you spend more time sleeping and doing your job during the day and not oversleeping, doing your streaming thing, I don't know how he found out about it, but that's besides the point. I ended up leaving there, and I have an amazing career somewhere else doing a lot of meaningful work, but that's besides the point. It was stupid for me to prioritize that over it, but
Hmm.
when you like something that you do, you want to put your time into it, and I definitely loved doing what I was doing at the time. So the
So, at what
balance was
point did you
tough.
find the balance, though? Like, how did you
Well,
find that? At some point, did something like kick you in the head? Like, how did you go? Okay, this is what we have to do here. I can't keep being late for work.
yeah, I think it was around COVID time, honestly, because I had a smaller place in Virginia, and the only place I could work from home and stream was from the same computer, the same office, and that mentally
Hmm.
just screwed me up. Right now, I have a separate area for work. I mean, my master bedroom's my studio. I sleep in a small room because I'm sleeping. I don't care, but I've disassociated my work life and my streaming life. Not that I stream as much as anymore as I used to. We're trying to get back into it, but
Right.
I had to disconnect those two worlds to be healthy for my brain. Because if you merge that too much, it wasn't good for me. Because you're in the same zone as where you're working, and then you see messages coming and you just can't focus, just unhappy, and it drained me. There were times where I just kind of locked myself in my room and just didn't want to do anything. So
Yeah, I get that.
it took a
I
while
really
to get
do.
through that, but that was the silver lining about COVID, being able to move down to Florida now and having a bigger place and more of a veteran on the platform. So I knew what would work, and how to disassociate better. It just took time.
Okay. When did you move to Florida? At what point in
I want to
your
say it was
career?
about, I think it was about 2020. So I think it's about 2020, 2021. So it's been about 4 years ago. I think 2021. So about 4 years, 4.5 years I've been down here.
Okay. Now, it's Florida. And,
Yeah.
going even through some of your stuff I was seeing on Twitter, because I will never really call it X. Um, you posted a lot about the hurricanes and stuff like that.
Yep.
How did that affect what you had going on with the streaming stuff like that? Because when you don't stream, and we all feel it as streamers, is if you take time off, no matter if your life is at risk or not,
Yeah.
viewership does tend to just kind of go away.
Sure.
It's really volatile like that. So, like, what was going through your head during that transition? Was anything going through your head content wise, or were you just purely, hey, I need to prioritize safety, or I need to get back to stream? Like, realistically, where was your head?
My mindset has changed over the years. Early on, when I would go away up to Vermont, my parents used to have a ski place up there, so we would go. And if I took a day off or two, I thought it was the scariest thing in the world as a streamer. I was like, I'm going to lose my viewership. I was thinking and breathing Twitch, just what I was doing. As the years went
Right.
on, I cared less and less about that. As you mentioned, we have the world's first no damage in Jedi Fallen Order. It took a ridiculous amount of work. I was the first one to build the run. Buddy of mine, actually a couple of buddies of mine added in some other strategies where we were the creator of that run. So it took basically like a third job. So we worked our way up. We got Twitch partnership, and we were doing at the height maybe 200 to 300 concurrent, and it was great. But perfect example, my mom ended up slipping. She fractured her elbow, and I went up to help my parents out for a month. When I came back, it was never the same. We had just gotten the world's first, and then my mom hurt herself, and I disappeared. My longest hiatus was a month away from Twitch, and it hurt. When we came back, we got it to 60, 70, and after that, we dipped down to the 20s, and I've never been able to get back up there since. Maybe there were some times getting up to 60 or 70, but that was the start of it. But, I got to look at myself. We had done a lot of things where, we changed the content. I was trying to get crafty. We're trying to do WoW and doing other YouTube videos, but it wasn't me. And
Hmm.
once I got out of that niche, and when COVID ended too, the viewership dipped. I mean, a lot of streamers got hurt by that. And
Right.
also, you had more streamers than ever coming to the platform because everybody was home. They wanted to do something. So you saw an influx of people becoming streamers and the viewership increasing dramatically. But there's only so many streamers per viewer. So it was a very unique time on the platform. I think at
Yeah.
one point,
No,
Twitch was
I
the most
remember that.
watched platform in the world, even
Oh
over
yeah.
TV. It was insane.
Yeah, I've saw statistics of how inflated everything kind of got during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, no, 100%. Now, that was all like happening kind of at the same time with you taking a break, and like it just kind of the perfect storm of things kind of going on basically.
Pun intended. Perfect storm for sure. So yeah, it was COVID. It was COVID sort of coming to, well, actually it wasn't coming to an end. It was at the height of it, I think. But yeah, it was my mom fracturing her elbow and helping out my family, and then us getting the world's first. And once you get the run, then what? I figured let's keep with Soulsborne, because I have a lot of close friends that do Soulsborne no hit, no damage runs and challenge runs. That's the niche I wanted to stay with. But it is draining, and nothing really hit the excitement for me like Fallen Order did, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Right.
So I tried to do other games. I think we did Death's Door. I got to a one hit on that. And I just said, this is just not working for me anymore mentally. And I stopped the run at one hit. I never finished the run. I said, I will not do another no hit, no damage game unless it's Star Wars Jedi. And then we got Survivor. And now we're waiting for the third game, which might be announced to give the Game Awards, which would be pretty cool. Unlikely, but I think it's too early. But we'll see. So,
Well, when this episode comes out, I guess we'll know, because it's not going to come out right away. So
sure.
by the time you guys hear this, you will know if it happened or not. So I guess there's that.
Yeah. So either I'll have a bigger smile on my face or just look the same. One or the other.
So with all of that, like, the positive chaos before the dip there, basically, how long did it take for you to get partnered on Twitch?
It took 4 years. And it was only when I did something unique where I created a no damage run, being inspired by my friends doing Soulsborne runs. And with it being a new game like Star Wars Jedi, doing that, is what helped take me off. It was also the consistency and just I want to say the personality that I was putting into the broadcast. So all that together, and probably a good amount of luck because we got some pretty big raids at the time, which also helped. But we started taking off slowly as this new game was getting challenge run, and I was the only one doing challenge runs. There were some
Mhm.
speedrunners, but the challenge running, no damage, was really what helped take everything off. It was that exact timing, new game, very unique broadcast that I think did it. Plus COVID.
Now, you also did there's no way you can forget this. You were beating the game blindfolded.
Yeah, we did that too. Yeah.
Hardest difficulty blindfolded and still ended up beating the entire like Dark Souls type super difficult game for people who don't even know what Dark Souls is. Just think of a very, very complicated game where timing is everything. And he just completely put a blindfold on and said, I don't need to see what I'm doing. I can just do it. Very impressive. And I was at the point myself where I'm like, what more can you do to this damn game? Because you have just owned it and then just grabbed it by the cojones and was like, I own you now, basically. So
Well, somebody
what you're
did do
saying
something
makes
more with
sense.
it. Somebody did do something more with it because I had a friend of mine and he did 100% no damage. He did
Oh, jeez.
everything. He got all the collectibles, everything. So it was very impressive. And we had met through that game actually. And I had when we had to actually, I'm trying to remember what happened. There was a ninth sister. There was a smidge of damage that we didn't know how to avoid, and we had to invalidate. I can English. We had to invalidate both of our runs. We had met. That's when we started becoming friends. And then he said, because I was the one that invented the run, to let me get the no damage run. And I said, you got the 100%. So we kind of agreed to kind of have our runs to ourselves, which was very nice. And
Mhm.
he ended up getting the world's first survivor run himself, which was great. But I totally trailed off. This is my old age happening. This is my old age happening. We were good up until this point, and then
No, no, you're doing great. You're doing great. But yeah, you did do pretty much everything under the sun to beat
yeah,
that game, basically, and without, doing anything wild like jumping on a dance pad. Essentially, you did what you had to do for
we were
that
going to
game.
do that. We were
I
going to do
believe
that.
you.
I was going to do it with a driving wheel. I was going to do it with a Guitar Hero controller. We were going to do everything.
Why not? Why didn't you do it?
I think I had burnt myself out, and I wanted to move on to other things, which is tough, and I think that's also what hurt the stream. Because
Mhm.
I think the biggest compliment to a broadcaster is a viewer who sticks around regardless of what you're playing. I'd rather have 60 people who are there for you than have like 200 people that are just there when you're playing something specific. I don't know. It might seem a little weird, but I feel like chat's more engaging. You have more familiar people. I've always felt that to be more of an enjoyable experience. But that could just be me.
And how often do you think that happens to people's streams to get those ride or dies that are there for every single stream?
I think it depends on the broadcast, but all my friends, there's always a handful that'll stick around no matter what. You're going to have some that, have been there for years and then, real life kicks in, you never hear from them again.
Mhm. Would
And
you say there's
then
just a massive drop off when you change games in the first place, or
it
not really?
depends. I mean, if you look at a large streamer who's doing Soulsborne no hit runs, and, they're a big partner and they're doing thousands, maybe they'll lose some of their viewership because they want to see that kind of gameplay because that's what they're used to. But
Mhm.
I think it depends on how many people you have watching. And if I have 20 people watching and I decided to switch a game after playing it all year, yeah, unless they're regulars, they're not probably not going to come back for a little while until they see me playing it again. You can't force
Yeah,
somebody to watch,
that's also true.
nor would I. I want them to be there because they enjoy what they're watching. So
So then after again the height of all the partnership and the viewership, like what happens next? All right, you've reached the height of where you were at currently, and now you're kind of on the trajectory almost like down because life has kind of gotten into the way here. Like what do you do exactly next from that point on?
trying not to give up, if I'm being honest. I think we've talked about this behind closed doors a little bit because it's a struggle. It kind of plays with your brain a little bit. Granted, at the end of the day, you're just playing games on the internet. I have a full-time job. This is just a hobby of mine. But after something you've been working on for, at the time, 4 or 5 years, you're thinking, wow, we might have made it. I was looking at sponsorships and I thought, okay, cool. We might have hit our stride here. This could be the beginning of something brand new. It was great. It had the purple check mark. Twitch was just totally different. Twitch Partner meant a little bit more than it does now. Actually, meant a lot more than it did now. It's quite a bit different. Leave it at that. Anybody who's watching this will know it's very different. Twitch partnership doesn't really mean much of anything. Even at the
For
time when
people
we
who
got
don't
it.
know
Yeah.
Twitch, what do you mean by different? If they don't know what Twitch is at all, like how is it different?
You mean Twitch partnership versus just being a regular viewer or like an
No,
affiliate?
partnership between then versus like 4 or 5 years ago versus partnership now in
So
2025,
sure.
26.
So from this was before the affiliate program. And the affiliate program was a way, as far as I remember, was a way for Amazon to basically increase their income across any streamer if they hit a certain mark, certain viewership, certain number of hours streamed, because they wanted to increase revenue, which I get it. It's a business. I understand. At the time, before Twitch partnership existed, you had to have, I think, something crazy like 500 concurrent, and emotes weren't open to everybody.
I
So
remember
they
that.
came out with the affiliate program. I remember being on giant calls with whole groups of people saying, have you gotten your affiliate? Have you gotten your affiliate? Because we wanted emotes. And I think we started out with like 3 emotes, then it increased from there. And then they added all sorts of stuff. So there was the line between an unaffiliated streamer, an affiliated streamer, and a Twitch partner, got very, very small. So even an affiliate and Twitch partnership, besides VOD sticking around longer and you getting some more emotes and possible payout differences if you're lucky, it's blurred now.
It was just so much harder to hit all those years ago, and now they're kind of just opening up and lowering the barrier of entry for like everyone to kind of get there a little easier, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's not the same feel anymore, and I'm not as connected. I don't watch as many streams as I used to, just because I've found it healthier for me to disconnect after a stream. I found my love for reading this year, and I run softball teams. I'm doing a bunch of things outside of the internet, which has done wonders for my mental health. I can tell you right now. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So at some point, I think if I had to take a stab at it, it was around 2023 where the gamers would call it touching grass. But mostly what that means is you just were a little bit more disconnected from the internet.
Yep.
And you did join, I think it was your softball team. You joined, I think you were in that for a while, if you're still even in that. You were doing some traveling, you were
Sure.
doing all kinds of different things. Like doing that, like how needed was that as you were in it from, after doing all of this stuff and then going through all these different mental gymnastics, like what was that like for you?
It was crucial because like I said earlier on, that I put everything into this. And I think after that dip in 2020, I don't want to say depression. That's kind of kind of over dramatic. I mean, there were times where I just kind of felt down on myself, like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? I'm very analytical, so I started breaking down the numbers, but looking at the numbers makes you more depressed. So me getting away and disconnecting, it started to make me realize this is not that important. Yes, I'd like the viewers to have a great time. I'm there to have a good time. Obviously, I want to meet new people, but this is not a priority. Me doing better at work, me going outside, exercising, meeting new people, running softball teams, that's more important. I can do both, but it's got to be a healthy balance. It's just like, I love pasta, but I'm not going to have 3 meals a day, and I'm not going to have a giant bowl either. I have to portion control. That's what this is. It took me a while to do it. When I have time to stream, I stream. If I don't and I cancel, I don't feel like my world is ending or that people are going to hate me. It took me a long time to not care what people think. I think
Do you
that
think
was the
that
thing.
after like going and now experiencing things outside of like the stream world, did you find it like now it's kind of hard to balance it the other way because you're out there doing things? I am seeing you having fun and posting your game scores and we had a nail biter this week and X, Y, and Z was happening with your team and you all went out and had drinks and it was a great time.
Sure.
You had posted around also 2023, you were like with elephants and you were like riding elephants and you had then reposted it in this February talking about a core memory of yours. Like, did you find it hard to want to just come back invest as much time into your streaming since you kind of delved more into IRL stuff, basically.
Kind of a little bit. I mean, I felt I was finding myself that I wanted to end stream earlier because I wanted to continue reading. I've gotten into Dungeon Crawler Carl and The Will of the Many, and um, I just found my love for reading, and I think that it gave me something to do by myself on my own, as opposed to me just putting myself out there playing games and just sitting down like we are now. So I didn't feel it difficult to come back because I did miss it. I think it also allowed me to kind of take a break without actually fully taking a break. I think that was healthy instead of me streaming 6 to 7 days a week, which we were doing. We would do 30-hour streams because we were celebrating 1,000 followers. So unhealthy. Don't do it. It's not worth it. The only exception for longer streams, if you're going to do charity work, that is the only time I would have ever pushed myself more. But it's so unhealthy. You need your sleep, people. So, but early on, you get so excited. You feel like, wow, this is really going to help us grow and everything like that. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
What's
So
a good time? Like, what do you think is a good balance, like a good time for per stream for like the average streamer? If you're not going to go that many hours, what would you recommend?
honestly, I think it depends on the person and based on their time limit. Because if they're working 12, if they're a nurse and they still want to stream, they're working 12, 15-hour shifts. You can't, probably not going to stream those days, and you might have other days off, but I think it's going to vary on the person. To me, right now, I think we've been doing maybe around 3 to 4 hours at most. But I also work from home. I could stay up until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning now, as opposed to early on when I had a commute. And I said, screw that. I'm not doing that anymore. So that also helped. But, the longest I think we'll do is like 7 or 8. And that's when you pop into chat saying, what are you still doing streaming? Like you're on much longer than you're supposed to be. But, that's just dependent on how much fun we're having and, if I have the time. But it just depends. I'd say early on, find a set schedule. This way people know when you're on, post what your schedule is, play something that you love to do, talk to yourself when there's nobody around, because nobody wants to go into a stream and see somebody just blank face and not doing anything. They're going to leave. You want to draw them in. And after a while, I even had trouble with that. Sometimes I'm just kind of checked out and I just want to play the game and that's it. If chat's quiet, okay, we'll see you tomorrow. I've done this long enough to say, maybe we've peaked at this point. And even if we haven't, I don't have the same kind of time anymore. I'd love to get back to where we were, like with Jedi 3 when it comes out, but it just depends. But I don't know, maybe anywhere between, see if you can do an hour to start. Start with a little amount and then increase it if you want. If not, it's not taking up that much time.
And what do you think you need to because you had mentioned maybe getting back to that point at some point in your career, potentially, if you even want to do it. What do you think you need to do to get back to that point in this current climate of streaming?
I think finding games that I enjoy playing that'll want me to continue showing up for stream. I don't like to cancel unless something really impedes me canceling, or if I really just need a day off because things have been so crazy. But we just got back to Astroneer. It's one of my first loves since 2016. I've been playing it since early release. They just released the Megatech DLC. I love it. I've always loved the dev team. They're one of my top dev teams on the planet next to Respawn Entertainment. So I think finding my love for that kind of space, chill kind of game, that has definitely helped me want to stream more. Even outside of stream, still prepping the game. We're doing stuff. I think even in the background now, I'm just running electricity for the museum and Megatech just to kind of run the numbers up so we can unlock more stuff. So I think it's finding my love for the game again. And that's what made me uber passionate about our time in 2020, is I was building something from scratch. Nobody had done it before. It made me want to write. I have books and books of notes of breaking stuff down. It was that kind of hyper focusing that made me find my love for it again. I think on maybe a smaller level, a healthier level, that'll help me get back to that, but not too much because then I'm going to burn myself out. Burnout is killer on Twitch.
Yeah. And I mean, you've been doing this long enough that you probably even know indicators of yourself that hey, I'm starting to get to that point. I should probably dial it back a little bit.
And there were times early on that I didn't know that it was burnout. I was just like, all right, I just got to keep pushing through. If you need a break, take a break. If people are going to leave, let them leave. You can't control what people do, and whatever they're going to do. The Let Them Theory, excellent book. Read it if you haven't. It's the best, and it just applies to so many facets of life. You can apply it to Twitch easily. If a viewer's going to leave, just let them leave. It doesn't matter. No point getting upset about it. Doesn't matter. You wouldn't even know if they did anyway most of the time. Just play what you want to play, have a good time. That's the end of it.
And for people who don't know, The Let Them Theory is a book that was written by a woman named Mel Robbins. She is a content creator, public speaker lady who dives into like mental health and psychology and stuff like that. And then she wrote a book that was called The Let Them Theory. And the premise is to let them and then let me. So you can't control anybody else. So you have to let them do what they want to do. And the more that you try to do that, it actually makes the relationship worse. So then let them do what they want to do, but then it's like, let me be in control of what I can be in control of, which is your own emotions, your own feelings. So if you were ever in that headspace and you're just kind of like feeling yourself struggling with those kind of things, as me and Thundy here were talking about, just that's a good pickup for sure. Cause I mean, it helped me out a lot too. I was a big fan of that book. So, and I was very pleasantly surprised when I found out that you read that book too. Like, how
Oh,
did you even
sure.
end up finding that book?
It was my love for reading. I was looking at, personal development books as well as fiction books. And I have very strict rules about how many books I'm allowed to read at the same time, because otherwise I'll keep filling up my library and I'll never finish everything. But I think it just came as a recommendation. And
Mhm.
I found a huge love for Stoic philosophy early in the year. And I've knocked out a bunch of books on it. I read 4 books daily ever since March. I'm trying to get a year so I get everything read. I take notes every single day. So that was one of those books of personal development that were just added to my list.
Wow. That's a lot of freaking books, my god.
Yeah, we started out with just I think it was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow that my mother recommended to me. Very good book. It's kind of like a gaming book. It's a heart wrencher towards the end, but it's a good read. So if you haven't read that, that's one you probably like.
Okay.
And and then Stoic philosophy, and from there I got into audiobooks. Dungeon Crawler Carl is just, oh my gosh. Princess Donut and Carl, 2 of my loves, the best. You have no idea what I'm talking about, but if as somebody who's a huge gamer, oh please, just if there's a sale, just listen to the first one. You won't be able to put it down. It's the best. So now my bookshelf has, I don't know, probably 70, 100 books on it when I had maybe 2 in March. So it's just been fun. And then Red Rising. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Well, all
Yeah.
you book fans,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Some little request for you there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Um, but kind of pivoting into the thing that you kind of touched on for a little bit in your career that was about at this point roughly 5 years ago, you did a podcast. Did a podcast called Chatting Up a Storm.
Yeah.
And when you think about streaming, you're playing your games, you're uploading the content when you can on YouTube. Nowadays, there's TikTok. And at some point, you said, you know what if we did a podcast? And I had noticed that it was like roughly, I want to say around a lot happened within 5 to 4 years ago for you.
Sure.
You got really creative, it seems. And you had changed your green screen on your stream, and you were sitting behind a podium with it's like a real like TV host kind of
Yep.
situation here, and you did that before you ended up launching a podcast. So 2 things: have you always wanted to be like a host of some sort, and was this some kind of outlet? And like, what then made you want to do a podcast?
I mean, I've met a lot of people over the years, most of which either they've left the platform, we don't talk anymore, or you lose touch. That's just the way it is. You can't keep up with hundreds of people,
Right.
and friendships come and go. It's just the way it is. It's a revolving door. You hold on to as many as you can, as many as you can, keep in touch with. Some get closer than others. Obviously, we've known each other for how long at this point? It's got to be
Years.
it's 5, 6 years plus.
Yeah,
So it's been a
easily.
long time. But people that I've known for 8, 9 years, we don't talk anymore. It just happens. So I just kind of thought, with how well we were doing with Fallen Order, I said, let's do something different. I wanted to try to take a different avenue. Stream is very, very generous, and they actually donated a couch to me. And I said, this is the couch we'd like you to use for the show. And we got all this different equipment. We set it up. I learned how to edit. And yeah, before that, we had done, I guess, Thunderceptor11 2.0. That took like 3 months of painstaking learning how to learn After Effects. I did everything from scratch, picking the music and everything like that. I was very meticulous about it. I think just putting on a good show was kind of the drive for wanting to maybe do a podcast. I like talking with people, and I wanted to introduce my viewership and other viewers to specific streamers like you're doing now. So the fact that you said, "Hey, I'm going to do a podcast. You want to be on it?" I didn't even have to think about it. Besides the fact that we're friends, that help you with anything. You know, the fact that you're kind of not taking the torch per se, but you kind of lit from another torch. You're doing this on your own. So,
Hmm.
on a side note, I wish you nothing but success in this, and I hope this takes off because you're great. You're personable. You've always been friendly. You're great on Twitch. So I think you'll do great with that. And just on cue, a storm has started in
Oh, how about
December.
that?
Yeah, look at that.
Um, so with that being said, though,
Try not to blush.
oh, I'm trying not to. Yeah, my gosh. I appreciate all the kind words, and you've always been good to me. You know, we've always had some good conversations, and you've been a good soundboard on certain things whenever we kind of started chopping it up. So,
Appreciate that.
I always appreciate you and the effort that you put into your stuff too. Kind of lights a fire into me. So when you're doing all the cinematics and all the stuff, and when you had asked me to be a part of your podcast and all like the clips and everything the thought you had put into it, I was like, this dude's really killing it. So, you also put in some really good work and everything like that. And, just making sure I'm giving you your flowers as well, because,
I
I
appreciate
know,
that.
I appreciate all that. I'm not trying to Uno reverse card here, but genuinely though, since we're on the subject, no, you have, always been a good friend, and you've always been really good at what you do. And, the energy you put into things are not normal for most people, because, you have a certain level of grit to you, that I always appreciate. So you also don't quite stop, because I'm also rooting from you on this side of the fence over here.
I appreciate that. And it's interesting to hear that from somebody else when in my own head, it's hard not to think of even what I've done. I feel like I've failed because we're not where I thought we would be. So when I look at, okay, what we did with 2.0 and all the changes that we made, I wanted to do a 3.0. But because the viewership wasn't there, I said, I'm just not going to do it. I just don't have the energy. I'm burnt out and I feel crappy about the fact that I decided not to go along with it. I had a whole idea using Unreal Engine 5. I was going to learn how to really game develop to put together a top of the line introduction and like this home in the clouds this way. When we're on stream, we're literally walking from room to room where you can put on a VR headset and actually walk around where we stream. Like that's the kind of detail I was
Okay.
going to put into it. Every chair
Wow.
was going to get picked out, every piece of furniture, every detail, every wall, every floor piece was all going to be painstakingly programmed for the stream. But I just don't have the. I'm not going to say my heart's not in it. It's always going to be in it to some degree, but it's just the burnout's still there even after so many years later. Where I also don't want to overcommit because time past is, it's just gone. I feel
Hmm.
like I get more benefit from going out and reading a book than from trying to do all this programming, hoping that something's going to happen. If that makes
Right.
any sense. So
No, it
that's
does.
the struggle at the moment as to how much I commit again without overextending myself. Where I can just hit the start streaming button, play what we want to play, and just shut it off, and whatever happens, happens.
Honestly, it's probably a good mindset to have. And,
For
you
now,
know, yeah, for now. And then I'm sure you'll get inspired, and then things will kind of like, snowball. And then maybe we get a resurrection of Chatting with a Storm, maybe the
maybe.
podcast.
I mean, we did a couple of seasons, which I mean, granted, seasons. How many people did we have on? Maybe like 7 or 8. It's not that many, but it took a while to edit. And now that we have this, I mean, this changes everything.
No, this is dope. Yeah.
This is great.
So I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the fact that you had some people who were just very vastly different between like me, Cheese Whiz, Amy, like the whole like we were all just like such different people in such different energy. Because like I was watching ours back recently, and we were having a little back and forth, just talking about like DC and Marvel and stuff like that, and our like thoughts on life. And then I went to the one you did with Amy, and it was just you guys were just laughing and just giggling the whole time, and the energy was just such a different energy from ours, but like not like in a better or worse way, but just in a different way, where every episode just felt different. And that was a really good takeaway from that, me looking and trying to like learn from stuff that you've done. And I really enjoyed what you were getting there and doing. So if you ever brought it back, it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world, but just make sure you're in a good mental health space for that.
I'll keep that in mind. On top of the fact, I had no idea what I was doing. I just said, let's try this out. And you just have to just throw yourself into the fire. That's all it was.
Yeah. I mean, and you did good, just kind of trial by firing that whole situation. You did a really good job with that.
I appreciate it.
So what is next for Thunderceptor11? All right, because right now you're finding your balance now with life, streaming. You are really enjoying this Astroneer game that you've been streaming a lot lately, which is that like survivor builder looking kind of game, which
Yep.
looks way above my pay grade mentally. So I'll just enjoy watching you play this game because I'm not gonna do it.
You got to get the
And
whiteboard out and write stuff down. That's how nerdy we
yeah, I
get with
saw
it.
you doing like a think tank the other day, and I'm like,
Oh
bro,
yeah.
just be a contractor and just stop playing. Like, what are you doing? But also these days you genuinely do seem a lot lighter. Like I just watch you play these games like you're doing right now, and you're just having a good time. You're just in it for the love of the game. I haven't seen you enjoy a game like this and be as relaxed since you did like the trucking simulator game where you're just kind of driving around with everything. And there are just certain games where you look like you're in your element and you're just having a good time. So, what is next for you with your career moving forward?
Well, the big thing is we're looking forward to Star Wars Jedi 3. I have no idea when that's going to get released because that'll be the last game in the trilogy, which is going to complete my lofty goal from 2020, where I want to do all 3 games without taking any damage. We were originally going to do the world's first back to back to back, where if we did all of Fallen Order without taking damage and we got hit in the middle of the second game of Jedi Survivor, we go all the way back to game number 1 and try it again. But because of how long the games are, and with certain sections of the game, it takes skill out of the equation and it's more chance. I
Mm-hmm.
just said it's just not worth the commitment of doing it on top of the fact that the viewership tanked. I hate to base it on numbers, but if we were still doing 200-300 concurrent, we might still be attempting that back to back to back
Okay.
because I'd have a reason to do it. At the beginning, it was just the one game where it didn't really matter how many people were there. But nowadays, if I'm going to commit to a lot of time, I want it to be worth it just a little bit to me, where there are eyes on it saying, okay, we're with you on this. We're enjoying the stream. So for right now, I'm just going to relax, play some Astroneer. We've got a few other games I was looking at. We haven't done Silk Song yet. And, there's a few other ones. Escape from Duckov. We were playing Arc Raiders. We were playing
I
a
saw
little
that.
while. And, I'm just kind of playing it by ear. There's no stress. And there's somebody who was in project management, who's in operations. I plan everything meticulously. I'm just going with the flow, trying to have a good time. I hit start streaming button, having a great time, laughing, no stress whatsoever. And it's been a lot healthier for me. So until Star Wars Jedi 3 comes out, I'm just going to roll with it and see what happens. We just started multi-streaming thanks to your help, something I should have done a while ago now that it's allowed. So, maybe that's another growth avenue.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I do have a question though, because we're kind of getting to the
Sure.
end here. I kind of touched on it beforehand because you had met the dev team for Respawn for the game of
Yeah.
the Jedi Survivor series, right? How did that even happen, by the way? I don't even think I've ever asked you like at all about how it actually happened and how were they when you met them? Like that just seems so cool from like an outside perspective that you were able to do something like that.
That's probably there are probably 2 moments in my streaming career that were just legendary.
Mm-hmm.
That was up there. That's one or two. It kind of flops. One's another one with meeting some young fans and we surprised them. That was just a lot of fun. But in regards to meeting the dev team, when we had gotten the run for Fallen Order, the team found out about it. It got passed around, and it felt great. Even when we were doing the blindfold runs, I was getting tagged in by the audio team. And there's a tweet out there that said, when designing the audio for Fallen Order, we wanted to put as much information in it as possible. This way, anybody could do a blindfold. So seeing somebody actually do it made my day. That's what it said. And I still have that tweet somewhere. And I thought that was another cool moment that we actually did something that the dev team was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were getting ready for Survivor, they had a release party, and the team who does the trailers said, "Hey, look, we got another spot if you want to come with us." And
Did
you
they
get
reach
to
out
meet
to
the
you or?
well, it was one of the viewers, and he's still a good friend today. And he says, "Yeah, you want to come with me, and we'll go." And everybody's like, "Hey, we're gonna do this. You need to go. Like this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity to get to meet the team." And not only did we get to meet the team, I got to hang out with Cameron Monaghan. I got to hang out with Tina Ivlev. I got to hang out with Deborah Wilson.
And for people
And
who don't know, who are these people from
so
the
Cameron
game?
Monaghan Cameron Monaghan is Cal Kestis, Tina Evlev is Marin, and Deborah Wilson is Seer.
And these are all
The
main
characters of Fallen
characters
Order.
from the
All
game.
main characters from Fallen Order. So they were just there. I hadn't been to LA since I was a kid. And my God, oh, it's so disgusting. But that's besides the point. It was just, it was gross. It was gross. It was weird people. It was creepy. Somebody who's
LA,
just
baby.
safely in their home. I'm just not used to that kind of area. But I'd go back if Respawn said, hey, you want to hang out with us? I'd be on a plane yesterday. They will always be the exception. So I just happened to get invited. I bought a brand new suit. I had a good one, but I wanted a brand new suit. I got to walk the black carpet at the time, and I just hung out with the dev team. I actually had a friend that was currently on the dev team that I knew before I started streaming. That was kind of a nice coincidence. And yeah, they just kind of invited me out there, got to hang out with them, have some drinks with them, talk with them, hang out with the combat team. I got hugs from the audio team. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I had such a great time.
I love that.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I'll never forget it. And I'm so thankful they treated me as one of the team. And I felt like a celebrity there for a little while, which I did not deserve. I'm just a nerd on the internet. I got tapped on the shoulder saying, I wasn't sure if you were going to come, but when you actually showed up, we were so excited. I was stalking your socials. I felt really special, and they made me feel incredibly comfortable. And I'll always be thankful to them for that.
Wow. I love that. I love that so much. And I'm very happy you got to experience that with how much energy you had put into that entire like franchise, basically. So that's sick, dude. That's amazing.
It was a good time.
So I do want to thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day to kind of sit here with me and kind of like, do this. I know we had talked about it earlier, but I really am very appreciative of you taking your time out of the day to kind of do this.
Anytime.
So thank you very much. I want to do this thing at the end here where I stole this 100% from the podcast, The Diary of a CEO, with Stephen Bartlett. And I loved it so much that I would love to kind of just straight up adopt it 100%. So, no creativity came from me from this. I'm just taking it because I love it. With that being said, what happens is the person who is interviewing right now, they leave a question for
you,
the
right?
next person. The next guy. Yeah.
Okay.
So the next person that I interviewed, they're going to answer this question. So if you can leave a question for the next person at the end of that podcast, what would you leave for them to answer?
That's a great question. We're probably going to have, I'm going to have to think about this one. It's going to be something ridiculous.
Hey, it can be ridiculous. It can be serious. Just whatever you're thinking, man. And it's funny because if you ever ask, because this is about creators, the podcast is about creators. So if you want to ask like a streaming-esque question and see how that would resonate with someone who's doing something different, you never know how that could land. Or it could just be how many ducks do you own or something. I don't know, whatever.
I have a good question.
Come up with.
Assuming that it's another streamer and somebody who's passionate about gaming, how does the soundtrack, the music in a title, affect your gameplay experience? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I actually just I was watching a stream before we had did this, and they were actually just saying that they feel as though the music these days, in the last like few years, they have really stepped up their game as far as like soundtracks. Would you agree with that?
Expedition 33.
Yeah, that's the one.
I mean, even when we were doing the blindfold stuff for Fallen Order, or when I've done Soulsborne stuff, like challenge runs, I had a buddy, we did two people, one controller. I have to turn off the music because I've been playing the drums since I was in the 4th grade for a long time. So when I hear music, I'll start attacking to the beat because I'm a drummer. It affects how you play the game. So I had to remove the music entirely as I get emotional about the music. It just pulls me into everything. Like even Expedition 33, there are some moments where it just brings tears to your eyes, just how they're singing and just how moving it is. You have to disassociate from it. You're doing a challenge run. It helps me. But yeah, music has such a major impact, especially nowadays. The soundtracks that they have put together using the London Philharmonic Orchestra for Fallen Order and Survivor, these scores that they make, it's just unbelievable music.
Yeah, no, I agree. And some like especially Expedition 33, that game has just been chef's kiss. Big fan.
It was very, very, very good.
All right. Well, since we're coming to the end here, where could anyone follow you if they love this podcast and want to see more of you? Where can they go to find you? And I guess in the internet world.
Well, right now it would be on Twitch at Thunderceptor11. I know it is a mouthful of a name, but let me tell you, your name, everybody says don't put numbers in your name. Keep it a short name, keep it something. Just name yourself whatever you want. Because if I got partnership by just being some random nerd on the internet, you sure as hell can do the same thing. Just pick a name that you love. But Thunderceptor11 on Twitch, YouTube, that's really it. It's very, very simple. Unless you
I
want
love
to
that.
watch Chatting Up a Storm, I don't know why anybody would want to do that besides to watch information on this guy over here. That's
I
also
was a
on
different
YouTube
man.
too.
I was, oh God, it was. We had
So
our
was I.
conversations did not translate to where we are in my life right now.
Well,
So
this is
I'll just
new.
leave that disclaimer there. I am in a different place in my life, so let's just leave that there.
There you go. It's worth a
Oh
watch,
my
though. It was
gosh.
fun.
No, it was definitely a good time. All right, so yeah, go follow him there, and I will also leave links in the bio if you're just like, oh, I just want to click on it and just kind of go from there. But again, Thundy, thank you so much for hanging out and doing the interview today, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.